Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading Eyeless in Gaza by Aldous Huxley. This book was written in 1936 and is about 475 pages long. So, I have previously read Brave New World. I love that novel. I've also read Islands by Aldous Huxley. So, going into this novel, I already knew that I enjoyed his writing. And maybe if you don't enjoy his writing, don't start in on this book. I would say this is the most Aldous Huxley novel that I've read so far. Just the way that his prose and the way that he goes about this whole novel, it gets a little preachy. I think that if you don't like already what he has to say, don't read the book because it gets preachy. I think, though, personally, I love his prose. The way that he's able to describe a scene or describe somebody's motivations. Every character is not one dimensional. They have their own motivations or ambitions, who they are, how their character arcs throughout time. This book in itself is actually quite miraculous in the fact that there's all the slew of running timelines with different characters, just all intersped like this. But I do think that to a degree, it is a little bit of a hard read. He does not give you at times who exactly you are reading, and which I can say, if you do not off the gate know who is your main following character for that section, assume it's Anthony. He is the main character, and a lot of times, if you just plug him in there, later chapters will show you that you were correct by assuming it was in fact Anthony. So, out of the way, main premise. The whole book is about maturation of a man named Anthony and basically his life from the late 1800s through the 1930s, where you get to see, the rise of the Nazi Party and communism and fascism. You get to see how he relates to it as an upper class male and how he matures through time. Especially with his relationships between women and other males, it definitely delves into, like, what does it truly mean to be in love with someone. You see how our main character Anthony has basically pushed off the ideas of love because he believes that it is enslavement and that it is in fact not the way a person should behave, because of your attachment to another person isn't truly who you are and who you should be. While one of his best friends who had passed away, this is not spoilers because they give it away early, it's more of the reveal of what happened, I would say, but a really good friend since childhood, Brian, passed away at a young age, and he was always very much enamored with his mother. His mother was obsessed with her child, maybe too much so. We're talking helicopter parent status. And basically, you get to see his friend who basically says, if I was to give in to my carnal urges, then I would be disrespecting the woman I love, and I can't do that. So that's a huge part of how his best friend views love, while he can only indulge himself on carnal pleasures when we meet him when he's 43 years old. When he is, in fact, seeing a younger woman, Helen, and you do get to learn that she is the daughter of his lover when he was younger, his first lover, I should say. And it's just kind of heartbreaking watching the late 1920s to the current day era of the novel in the mid 1930s, and seeing how a lot of these people that were so frivolous, the lives that they were living, like, taking vacation, just being able to live in a kind of luxury, and seeing them just fall into destitute and, poverty. It was just, it kind of hurt because it was very much along the lines of they didn't understand. They were almost silly children because they were in fact enslaved by, the fact that their life was so easy. They couldn't understand what actual real life was. And there's just so many really great concepts that are explored in this novel, and I would say it's highly philosophical. And I think that it's worth a read if you enjoy his writing. If not, there are times that get way too preachy. Even for me, I think of like the last few pages. I think Aldous Huxley didn't understand that his audience is not that stupid. I can grasp concepts. I know that unity is a good thing. Love and unity. Don't persecute people. I understand. And I understand you should be accepting people. You shouldn't be acting out in violence or treating humans as bugs. This makes sense to me. Please don't go on a tangent about it. There were a few moments of that. There's also one really long passage in the beginning in which Aldous Huxley was basically talking about the work of the sociologist, which is our main character, Anthony. he, just going on about history of certain words and how they have effect on people. And I understand why he had to work, talk about his work in this manner. And it was to basically show that he had enslaved himself from his work as opposed to enslaving himself through love. So, watching The Heirs of His Way, I understand the idea thematically, but it was hard for me to read personally. I actually had tried to read this book previously. I took it up in January 2023 and DNF'd it about 100 pages in. So I was really determined to finish it this time. Like I said, I don't think it's an easy read. I did have to push myself until the very end. It takes a really long time to break into this novel, personally, for me. Just because I don't think there's a lot to his early life other than setup. It's just a lot of setup, and you don't understand how all these timelines are intersped with each other. You can't really grasp the themes until around, I would say it took me to the 300 page mark before I really started to enjoy, like to really luxuriate into the book that I was reading. Just enjoy what I was reading and want to read more. There was points where I was just pushing it like, I'm going to finish this novel, which is not something I felt with his other works. I plan on reading more of his works, but definitely I feel like I enjoyed other ones more than this one, though I do understand. I think the themes are very poignant in this novel. Just me personally, I don't think it's a read for me. Maybe it's also because this is really grounded literature, and while Islands is a utopia and Brave New World is a dystopian. So maybe it's just the fact that this is the exact time era, and, Aldous Huxley did live through this, so he had, good themes, but I think he lends better when he's trying to describe things that people already know. Don't know. Sorry, forgive me. So when you don't know something, he's able to fully just delve into some subject that he's created or speak upon his philosophical terms. Well, if you already know how the real world works, it feels kind of tiresome because he's really reiterating to you a lot of things you already know. So personally, I think maybe just in his fiction, as of thus far, I enjoy the more escapism than the reality. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my book review. Personally, I'm gonna say not a big recommendation unless you really want to read Huxley. Like I said, prose is fantastic, but just my idea. Hope you enjoy my review and have a good one.